And I'm just like, what more do feminists want? You don't have to cook. There's Uber Eats. You have every reproductive right. Like in the UK, you have abortion up to 6 months. How much more time do you need, ladies? That's insane.
Hi, and welcome to, or back to, my channel where I offer my thoughts and opinions about whatever catches my attention. I'm Kit, and today, Pearl of JustPearlyThings infamy is educating Ian Collins on anti-feminism. As anti-feminists, detailing their beliefs is pretty rare, and I, personally, don't find the meaning of anti-feminist self-evident considering, well, most of them, at least, concede they're okay with some feminism. I thought this might be, well, it is Pearl, so educational might be pushing it. Interesting? Sure. But before we find out what anti-feminism is about, let's hear what Pearl thinks feminism is.
Just tell us, what is an anti-feminist? And if you had to write that out as a paragraph, what would it look like?
It's the right term, I would say. I would describe what's going on.
Of course, Pearl has no idea what's going on, but she's not going to let that stop her in her quest to be utterly wrong.
And right now, feminism has given women a lot of power in society, and all of society is crumbling because of it.
I would like for Pearl to tell us how she figures women have a lot of power, given that it's men who are massively overrepresented in politics and business, which means that the crumbling because of is actually because of men. And I would like Pearl to clarify that. How does she define a crumbling world? And if given the fact that men still hold the vast majority of global power, would she change her mind that society is crumbling? I wish people would challenge Pearl when she says things like that instead of just nodding along when she says easily disprovable nonsense.
You can see this in family court. Most men don't have access to their children after following a divorce.
We've been through this so many times, but Pearl just ignores what doesn't serve her. 90% of child custody is decided outside of court, meaning the parents decide the arrangement themselves. And if it does go to court, you know what would help? Being an active, involved parent. Even in the 21st century, mothers still do the most childcare.
You can see this just in the behavior of women in society.
I wish Ian had pressed Pearl on that.
Essentially, we're just drunk on power.
What power? I think Pearl's wealthy upbringing might be blinding her to the lived reality of most women. Of course, Pearl is quite possibly the most infuriating person I've ever heard of, and not even for the reasons one might think. She had so much privilege, so many resources, and now she has so much influence, such a large platform, and this is what she does with it. Spreads half-truths at best, absolute lies usually, and then just sits there with a blank smirk. Of course, this is also the fault of those who don't prompt her for sources or at least reasonings for what she says, but she is so incurious, so bland. And it's like, don't you want to do something? She claims to care about men. Shouldn't she be interviewing men to give life tips, opening a nonprofit, starting a men's network, something, anything, besides trying to foment more hatred toward women? And that is what I find frustrating about Pearl. So much privilege, so much possibility, and it's just wasted. Anyway, Pearl says anti-feminist implies you can do something about it, and, quote, the world's just kinda going the way it's going, and there's nothing you can do. Plot twist. Pearl isn't just a lazy grifter, she actually likes having rights and doesn't want them taken away. If only, she really is just a lazy thinker. Thinker might be too strong of a word.
When you think about it, we always talk about how women don't have, they always say my body, my choice, right? But historically, men had no choice what to do with their body if they were drafted. Right? I mean, they would literally be rounded up and sent to die in war.
Instead of being all, it is what it is, Pearl could be encouraging her viewers to partner with feminists to abolish mandatory registration. Because, guess what? Feminists believe everyone should have bodily autonomy. Quote, the draft is not a women's rights issue. Women's equality will not be achieved by including women in a draft system that forces civilians to participate in activities that are against their will and harm others in large numbers, such as war. There is only one way for draft registration to treat everyone equally. Abolish draft registration. End quote. Rivera, son of Code Pink.
What? Our oppression is cooking and cleaning? Really?
No one is saying cooking and cleaning is oppressive, and Pearl knows that. She knows very well that the issue with the 1950s housewife aesthetic is that if something happens to your spouse, if they divorce you, if the marriage goes south for some reason, you will have no resources, and having no resources means you have no options. She's just such a shallow thinker, and she's doing her audience no favors.
And I'm just like, what more do feminists want? You don't have to cook. There's Uber Eats. You have every reproductive right. Like in the UK, you have abortion up to 6 months. How much more time do you need, ladies? That's insane.
I'm glad for the UK, but in the US, there is no right to reproductive health care. So what do feminists want? Well, regaining bodily autonomy to start, and to name a few more things, end child marriage, more funding for women's health research, parental leave, and hey, here's what Pearl can agree with, and mandatory draft registration. At least I assume she would agree. She would probably find a way to say it's actually necessary.
I think it's like 10% of women between 18 to 25 are on OnlyFans. If you include women that are on sugar baby websites, if you include, like straight prostitution websites, I have people that have estimated it's like 25% of women under 25.
Wow.
Citation needed.
But I do find it interesting that we live in this kind of bizarre world of conflicting messages where we're talking, don't objectify women, and we've never, to look at a woman in a way that might be more than, you might be sizing a woman up and thinking, I quite fancy this one. Or whatever. All of that stuff is almost illegal. It'll land you in jail, pretty much.
You won't pretty much land in jail if you look at a woman. Good grief. But at least now I see why Ian doesn't question what Pearl is saying.
Even if it's 6 figures of college debt, women will still buy it. So then what happens is the women, we rack up a bunch of debt, and then how do we pay it? It's either marriage or sex work. And based on women's choices, women would rather be sex workers than wives.
Citations needed.
Can society be saved then? I mean, are you still, Pearl, the flag waver for the change that you crave? And are you someone who isn't all of the things that you clearly detest?
Well, I can't change the way society is. I don't have political power, right? I'm not a politician. I'm not in the government. So I just don't predict it's going to get better. I don't see any indication that the trends are going to change.
But do you think as a woman, but I was going to say, do you think as a woman that you should be, is your place in the home? Is your place as a homemaker? Is your place to please your husband? Is your place to be the person that spends but doesn't earn? Is that your disposition?
I mean, it doesn't matter what it is or it isn't, right? What my place is or isn't or should be. Like, should is just Make-A-Wish. And we have the society that we have.
I really don't think Pearl wants to be the submissive helpmeet to an alpha male. But hey, at least she admits the wage gap is real.
It's actually incredible that we spend 85% of consumer buying decisions are women, even though we make less than men.
And she also showcases how her mind is so focused on woman bad that she literally can't hear anything else.
But we spend way more. And you can see it. Come on, I don't know if you're married, but every married guy knows his wife runs his credit card more than he does.
Well, that's why I mentioned the kitchen point earlier. That I don't think you quite picked up on that. When it comes to spending out money, then you will normally find that the woman of the house will select which kitchen you have in terms of
consumer. That's so not true.
I think that's arguably true. Not. Well, I'm trying to feed into what you're saying. Are you saying that?
No, I'm saying I've interviewed. So
so now you're contradicting yourself.
No, I've interviewed 1,000 women in London. Women cannot across the board cook. If anything, I see more men that can cook now than women.
No, I don't mean cook. I mean select the kitchen that you want to buy for your house. I'm struggling with the kitchen reference here.
Oh, sorry. I'm over my head.
Don't worry. It's called a kitchen. It's got a cooker and a counter and stuff in it. Those things.
And yet, despite those 1,000 women she interviewed in London, by the way, there's 4 billion women on the planet, women still do most of the housework. And that was pretty much it. I should have known. Pearl is insistent that we're doomed, and she's just here to report on it. So, of course, she has no idea what anti-feminism would look like. But to summarize, women are spoiled brats and men are better off without them. But in this same video, Pearl has a very long ad for the wing girl method to help men date. To help men date women. And this is so sad.
Why trust Marnie's F formula? Over 100,000 men have already experienced life-changing results. I was a skeptic, but today I had my first silent moment with a beautiful woman, an amazing eye contact exchange at Trader Joe's. It was my first attempt after reading the F formula just once. It unlocked a whole new level of confidence and assurance. It is on. The next testimonial we have is Fred. I just want to take a moment to say that I'm really happy with the F formula information. It has improved my interactions with women to the point I've connected with a 37-year-old woman who was completely focused on avoiding relationships and dedicated herself to work. But now she is totally in love with me and wants to start a family, even though I'm 65 and have failed many relationships in the past. To sum it all up in one word, wow.
Wow is right. So Pearl thinks women are the scum on the earth, but she's happy to partner with a woman who offers dating advice to men. I mean, I get it, I'm sure she was paid, but does her audience never question? I am just flabbergasted by how people continue to platform her and never question what she says, even when she's so obviously wrong. But I can see how her content would appeal to a certain type of man. Not only is she saying, "You're fine, it's the women who are the problem," she also doesn't encourage improvement. There's nothing you can do to just sit back and watch the world burn. I understand why Pearl is doing it, easy money, but damn. Also, that Wing Girl website has a blog, and I have to share this. Quote, his mentor had said to him, "If you want to have a threesome with people you find attractive, all you have to say is, 'Hey, I've got a really interesting idea.' To which anyone he would say that to would always respond with, 'Okay, I want to hear. Tell me, what's his idea?' And then he says, 'Well, how about we have a threesome?' To which 89%, very scientific, of those asked this way positively responded with, 'Yes, just so you know, the people he was asking weren't sex fiends or expositionalists.'" What's an expositionalist? "Or certain types of girls. They were everyday regular people," because you have to be a sex fiend to have a threesome apparently. "And most had never had a threesome before in their lives. But because the offer," isn't an offer when you're asking? Do they already have the third person lined up? Whatever. "But because the offer was presented in this way, it was almost impossible for them to say no. In fact, he reported that after he put it out there in that exact way, it was the other people around him who took the lead to actually making it happen. Why do women say yes to questions posed this way? Say this line this way completely disarmed the audience. This is because it was said in such a light, playful way that it disarmed the audience." End quote. I'm not convinced this blog was written by AI, but I'm sure Pearl only promotes work of the highest quality to her audience. And that's it for this video. My socials and Patreon are linked below, along with sources and resources. I would like to thank everyone for watching through to the end, and of course, I would like to give extra thanks to my patrons. Have a wonderful day, read a book, don't be like Pearl, and I'll see you in the next one.